Helljumpers, Chapter 14, Part 3. Scootaloo couldn't reply as the scarab they had seen on occasion came lumbering around the corner of the end of the street. "We got trouble!" the sergeant shouted. The scorpion that had just been dropped in fired 2 shots before being destroyed by the main plasma cannon of the scarab walker. "What? You see this look? It's terror!" the Marine behind the heavy machine gun shouted. "Marine, did I give you permission to bitch?" the sergeant shouted back at him as the Marine opened fire. "Oh, I don't think it's stopping. Get your heads down!" the sergeant shouted as the scarab just walked over the building, completely ignoring the soldiers onto the balcony. "That thing is really starting to piss me off. Marines, time to kill us a scarab!" "Over here, sir!" a Marine called out over the comms, the chief running back to the building where the Marine had called out from, with Scootaloo right onto his tail. Out back, there was a walkway where a lot of Marines were perched shooting down at the approaching scarab. The chief grabbed his shotgun and waited for the scarab to walk under the overhang.
"What's the plan, sir?"
Scootaloo asked while grabbing a shotgun of her own. Instead of replying, the Spartan looked over the ledge at the scarab below him and just jumped down. "Give him hell, Spartan!" a Marine shouted, a few of the others giving the same sentiment. Scootaloo looked down at the Spartan who was blasting a few elites that were on the deck of the scarab.
"I'll be damned if I let you do that alone,"
Scootaloo muttered under her breath and attached the shotgun to a magnetic pad under her wing, jumping after the Spartan. A small glide later, she hit the deck beside the chief.
"Duck!"
Cortana shouted, prompting Scootaloo to fall down onto her stomach. The chief fired a shell over the Pegasus down the stairs, nailing an elite into the face. The chief made a few motions with his hands, signaling that Scootaloo was to take left while he would take right. The Pegasus nodded and the pair made their way down to the stairs, taking their respective turns. The chief's shotgun went off, hitting an elite at the far side of the room. Scootaloo followed immediately afterwards by shooting a grunt. Moving up a bit, another elite showed its face and both the Spartan and the Pegasus put a shotgun shell right into it. The grunt panicked and ran into the open where the 2 UNSC soldiers quickly took it down.
"One more target on motion tracker, Hurricane,"
Cortana reported to Scootaloo since her helmet lacked a motion tracker.
"Copy that."
Scootaloo acknowledged, slowly creeping forward with her shotgun pointed into the direction of the front. The sound of an energy sword being lit stopped both the Spartan and Scootaloo, and the 2 waited for the alien to reveal itself. The elite jumped from cover onto the chief's side, receiving a buckshot shell center mass from the Spartan, but with its stronger shields, it kept charging the chief, who had to dive out of the way of the swipe. Scootaloo in turn also fired a shell into the torso of the alien, straining the shield even further but also getting its attention. The alien tried to charge, but it got its feet swept from under it by the chief, who was already back up. Scootaloo fired another shell into the alien, finally popping its shield, allowing the chief to finish it off with a magnum. Scootaloo took a deep breath as she realized that she was holding hers for the entirety of the last engagement.
"How do we kill this thing?"
she asked.
"You head up top, Private. I've got this,"
Cortana ordered her. Scootaloo swiftly ran up top. Moments afterwards, she reached that top, and fire and explosion started erupting from the hull, and a shriek later, the scarab was a collapsed, burning corpse. The chief casually came up, walking up the stairs, and walked out in front, looking towards the now fleeting supercarrier. A pelican came hovering behind them, Sergeant Johnson standing into the cockpit and using the external speakers. "That's right, you mothers, run!" "Not if we can help it, Sergeant. Extract the chief and return to Amberclad," the captain of the frigate ordered Johnson. "Roger that," Johnson answered. The pelican moved to the front with a ramp down so that the Spartan and Pegasus could board. "Get us into the Amberclad, stat!" Johnson ordered the pilot before moving into the back. "Good to see you 2 made it out in one piece." Scootaloo wanted to reply, but saw the carrier open a slip space portal in front of itself.
"Sweet Celestia, they're jumping!"
she called out in shock as the pelican reached the frigate and docked. "Get to the drop pods and prepare for the possibility of a quick jump," the sergeant ordered. The 3 soldiers running out of the pelican towards the bay where the pods were being stored, they were ready to launch at any moment. Sealing herself in so that she would be shielded in the event of a jump, her mind jumped to Twilight for a moment, making her feel incredibly cold for just a moment. She would leave the system without her companion, truly being the only one of her kind wherever she'd end up. A tingling sensation crept up her wings, making her think about reality. The ship had just jumped. Twilight let off another shot with a sniper rifle that she was carrying. The squad had slowly been driving back Covenant forces towards the supercarrier. That was until the carrier started moving away from the city. What the fuck? Are they retreating? Tyler asked from his position further up into the street.
No, they wouldn't. They would have left a lot of assholes for us to clean up.
Lucy responded as she emptied another clip into the advancing Covenant soldiers. Twilight took aim at another jackal down the street, but got distracted by a magic fluctuation to her right. Trying to locate the disruption, her eyes fell onto the supercarrier, her blood running cold as she saw what it was doing. Twilight quickly ran the numbers through her mind to get a rough estimate of the damage a collapsing slip-space portal would cause.
Very bad. Very, very bad. Everyone, get off the street and into the underground! The carrier is jumping!
She shouted into her helmet, jumping from her vantage point and gliding down the street, running to the entrance of the subway. The others have already reached the entrance and were giving her covering fire. 2 grunts had taken cover nearby behind a car and lobbed 2 grenades to the group. Twilight saw the ordnance coming in, and in a desperate attempt to stop them, she put up a spherical shield blocking the grenades. The 2 explosives stuck to the outside of the shield, and both detonated simultaneously. Twilight, having reached the group suddenly, felt the feedback from the shield taking the hit, and her magic reserves almost completely emptied in an instant. And she screamed, shriveling up into a ball, her entire body burning from the lack of magic. "Sparkle!" Mac shouted, dragging the pony down into the subway. "Stay with me, soldier!" Mac removed Twilight's helmet. A cut was running down on Twilight's forehead, and it was seeping blood along with a trail of it coming out of the corners of her eyes and nose. The rest of the squad had moved down by that point, and was shooting up the stairs to prevent the Covenant coming down as well. A loud explosion suddenly came from the surface, and a wave of blue energy rushed down by throwing the ODSTs off their feet. Twilight's horn was violently sparking magenta energy as it absorbed the magic radiating from the energy wave caused by the slip-space rupture. Finally, having enough, Twilight's eyes rolled back and she fell into unconsciousness. In Equestria, Rainbow sat onto her haunches, looking at Twilight's dream bubble. Her friend had managed to contact her about 2 months ago once, and after that, her bubble had just remained dormant. This bothered the life out of Rainbow since she had seen a snapshot of the world Twilight had to survive in. Suddenly, a fluctuation in Twilight's bubble happened, putting Rainbow on edge. The fluctuation remained for a moment, but soon died down again. Dash released a breath that she was holding at the return of the status quo, but shot up again as the bubble went active. Leaving the Dreamscape, she ran down Canterlot Castle where she was staying for the moment to the throne room. In the throne room, she found Rarity and Fluttershy talking to Princess Celestia. Rainbow stopped for a moment as all heads in the throne room turned to her direction. The princesses had decided not to tell the other bearers about Twilight since they hadn't really been able to re-establish contact with the Alicorn.
Rainbow, darling, we were just talking about you,
Rarity said. Rainbow shot the princess a look, trying to communicate that she needed to talk with her in private. Celestia immediately picked up on Rainbow's intention and already guessed what the subject was about.
Rarity, Fluttershy, please follow me in Rainbow Dash,
she curtly asked the 2 oblivious ponies.
Is it active again?
The princess asked as she and Rainbow made their way to a back room with Rarity and Fluttershy on their tail.
Yes, princess,
Dash answered quickly. Princess Luna was already in the back room looking into a portal that allowed viewing into the dream world. Dash quickly bowed as she saw the princess.
My sovereign, I mean, princess.
Dash's weird behavior surprised the other 2 bearers.
Are you feeling okay, Rainbow?
Fluttershy asked.
Rainbow Dash is under the effects of an oath that she took with my sister.
Princess Celestia glared at the blue alicorn.
She will be released after she's finished the task that she set out to do. Speaking of the task, we have already prepared the viewing window into the dream world,
Luna continued.
My apprentice would thine please open the dream bubble. We will be indisposed, keeping the spell running on this side.
Rainbow nodded and put herself into a trance, entering the dream world.
Princess, would you please be so kind to explain what's happening?
Rarity asked, being utterly confused about what was going on. Through the viewing portal, the ponies could see Dash meddling with a dream bubble, opening it for everyone to see. The world she landed in was completely white with a pony clad in black armor, lying into the middle.
Twilight?
She asked, the pony in the dream stirring and raising her head to face Rainbow. Seeing her friend again, she tackled Dash into a hug.
We've got an audience, Twilight.
Rainbow said, pointing at the other disruption into the dream worlds that showed Princess Celestia, an astonished Rarity, and Fluttershy.
Girls?
She asked, realizing that she still had her helmet on and levitated it off. The ponies on the other side gasped as she set the helmet down. Twilight realized her mistake immediately. She still resembled how she looked while awake, so she had cuts running along her face and blood pouring from her nose.
Darling, is that you?
Rarity asked, not believing her eyes.
You look absolutely awful. It tends to happen when you get hit by the magic discharge from a collapsing slip space portal,
Twilight said, turning back to Rainbow afterwards.
The Covenant have located Earth. We're pushing them back for the moment, but more will come. I don't really know how long I have until I regain consciousness. I'm sorry, but what's the Covenant, and why does it sound like you're fighting? I also need you to help send a letter to Scootaloo. We lost her in the drop, and I have to know if she made it.
Twilight said, Rainbow's eyes going wide.
Wait, Scootaloo is also involved? Twilight. She made the decision on her own, and she can take care of herself, Dash. In some respects, she's a better fighter than me. How can you be so cold about all this, Twilight?
Fluttershy shouted onto the verge of tears.
Because if I break down now, I will die!
Twilight shouted back at the shy Pegasus, her eyes full of tears. The dream bubble started to ripple, indicating that Twilight was waking up again.
I'm sorry, Fluttershy. I can't right now.
Twilight said, tears freely flowing.
Please just send that letter. I'll probably be back soon anyway. I'm just gonna be down onto the planet for a while.
With that, the dream bubble became passive again as Twilight awoke, leaving 5 astonished ponies in her wake.